Thank you so much for tuning in to episode 5 of Jimmy's Decorative Moments. We have a really exciting show ahead of us, but first I'd like to thank all of our sponsors and supporters. Thank you to Simone Williamson of Be Our Guest Party Rental for donating all of the sofas and rentals that we'll be playing with throughout the episode. And thank you to Janice and Glenn Williams of the Rosendale Arts Alliance for supporting the show and your sponsorship. It wouldn't be possible without you. Today we're going to be meeting some really fabulous folks in the event industry, so without much further ado, let's get the show started. First, I'd like to introduce Jody Raphael of Jody Raphael. Hi there. Thank you so much, Jody, for coming. Nicolette Ortiz of the Intercontinental Boston. And Danny and Lynn of Tommy Wholesale.
Hi, Jimmy.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. So I always like to start the show by asking a question, just to kind of gauge everybody's perception of the phrase. So when you hear the phrase decorative moments, what does that mean to you? Jody, let's start with you.
A decorative moment to me is what inspires me to create an event. And it usually happens with colleagues, like the ones to my left, who, if I'm working in a venue and I'm working with someone like Nicolette, we come up with an idea to translate what the client wants into that decorative moment. If I'm working with someone like Lynn and Danny, how do I make the table even more special with beautiful candlesticks like they offer? It's a collaboration.
Nice. So is that decorative moment sort of that initial spark, or is it a series of sparks for you?
I would say it goes both ways.
Okay.
Sometimes it's an initial spark, but often that initial spark changes over time and evolves into what the final product will be.
Nice. Perfect. I love that. Nicolette, how about you?
Decorative moments to me are the ones that make
I love your earrings. I feel like your earrings are a decorative moment.
Thanks very much. I just bought these on Saturday because you always look so fabulous, and I had to
no, I don't.
kind of try to look fabulous. Anyways, decorative moments to me are the moments that make each event unique, or each person unique. So every wedding is different, every fundraiser is different. It's when we're pulling together all of the decor and it clicks, or when we're sitting at the tasting and we all just love this on the menu. I think decorative moments kind of, for me, they span over the course of the event or the relationship. It's not just one, it's a whole bunch of them.
And then it culminates into that final scene or that final moment where the event's actually transpiring and taking place.
Or that one moment when the bride and groom
I know you love those
that's
moments.
my favorite
Yeah,
moment,
that is your
when
favorite.
the bride and groom see the room for the first time and the
Yeah.
photographer's standing there and they walk in and it's like months of
I
planning
know.
and details and everything, and they would never know how it's going to all come together until that one moment. So that's my favorite decorative moment.
I love that. I love that. How about you guys? You guys have seen it all. You've been in the industry for a long time. You've been supporting different vendors, event planners, because you only work within the industry. You only
We work with the trade only.
with the
yeah.
trade only. Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Right. So you have to have a wholesale number to.
Don't touch me.
Yeah, first question.
How it works. But basically, I would say our decorative moment is anything that we can make the hotel shine. It's, hotels have parquet floors. We have the white acrylic dance floor and the red acrylic dance floor.
You're known
and
for
the
your dance
black.
floors.
Yes.
These fabulous dance floors.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Indeed.
it changes the whole appearance of a room. It changes the whole appearance from, a paneled wall. It brightens the whole room. And thank goodness for Jody and Nicolette and the hotels and party planners in the industry that do use us to make things bright and shine.
Why are your dance floors known for being so great?
We take such good care of them.
Okay.
It's from delivery to installation to removal and just maintaining them.
But
Whenever-
you do that
yeah.
with all of your product.
Yes.
Thank you.
I
That's
try.
very
I
nice.
appreciate
Thank you.
that.
Like,
I
very nice.
try my best.
It's impeccable.
It is.
I
And it's
appreciate
because
that.
you can see the attention to detail when you put things away or when you take them out, too.
know.
Thank
I
you.
know.
That's very
makes
nice.
a
And they
lot
work
of
really hard at that.
And I
the guys at
apologize
the
for every
warehouse.
time that I haven't packaged it appropriately.
Just get it on time, Jimmy. Just return on time.
Fashion or
Anytime I
Sorry.
make you come back at midnight to pick it up.
As long as we know a week before, we're okay. Not that night.
We know.
So what do you guys have in your inventory? Because I've rented things from you like candlesticks and candelabras and things like that, but what is the full scope of your inventory? And Jody, have you used them for something aside from?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Tables,
Table.
chairs, vases,
I didn't realize you had
This,
tables.
Yeah,
Any
they have-
kind of arches, yes,
Wow.
mirrored tables, wooden
Okay.
tables.
Farm tables.
We have this really fun silver table that
Yes.
is
Oh,
great
really?
with lighting.
Very
because-
industrial.
Yes, because
looking.
it changes the look.
Oh,
So you
wow.
don't use any
They have
linen
new
on
light
it.
up tables.
Yeah,
I
that are
saw
Very
those
great.
online. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I saw
We
those.
have
They're
the
really
new
cool.
white and black velour love seats that people are using for head tables.
So Jody, how did you get yours? I love this like group because it's like Jody, as an event planner, you help the client select a venue like the Intercontinental, but then when you're decorating the space or the tabletop, you're using a vendor like Tommy Wholesale. So like, how did you get started in the industry?
I was, my first career was in television, actually.
Oh, wow.
And then I was home raising my kids, and someone referred me to a community event, and they wanted to use a Santa Claus. So I hired a Santa Claus, and the person who represented the Santa Claus hired me to do corporate events for her. And I felt like it was live television, which was what my background was. And then the rest.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is.
Yeah.
You likened
an
the
event is like live television. I get one shot to make it right.
I've
never heard that
I know. I've
before.
never heard that
Yeah.
analogy
Yeah.
ever. Like
Yeah.
I've always heard it. I've heard events be likened to theater, but never live television. That's so true because that's your background. So that's framed. That sort of started. That framed your initial event experience. So
And the two things I love so much about what I do are the production value and dealing with clients and offering a relationship and a personal
because you're very much in a
service.
customer service role. It's
Exactly.
like you're working with the client. You're holding their hand throughout the whole planning
Absolutely.
process, and you're making everything as great for them. And you have so many things to think about.
But could not do it without my partners in the industry and my relationships that span back over the last 20 years. So
It's so funny, Danny and I had this conversation today about, do you like being behind the scenes or do you like being on site? And I said, I like being on site because you get to see from the beginning, because you know what people order, and to the end. And he now said to me today, I like being behind the scenes.
You do. I know Danny's very, yeah.
Right.
It's so true.
Yes.
There's nothing more magical than the end of the production when you know you pulled it off.
right.
I love that. Danny, do you ever wish you could see the event taking place? Do you ever wish you were?
Some events I definitely come back because I'm very excited, like working with Jody and Nicolette. I love how we put all our ideas together and to see it actually happen.
Manifest. Yeah.
Yes. And they're very magical moments that I'll cherish forever. You know? But the stress. I can't handle it. I'm sorry.
20 years ago, you were better.
20 years ago, I couldn't. You know?
Nicolette, so how did you get started at the Intercontinental?
I actually applied as a front office manager, and they called me and asked if I wanted to be a spa supervisor, and I said, "What is that?" And I had already had a job lined up at another hotel for a front desk manager position, and the Intercontinental was paying a little bit more. So I said, "Okay, I'll come in for an interview," and I ran the spa for about a year and a half. And then I worked in reservations, so behind the scenes, and then I was a
Oh
sales
my
and
God, I
catering
can't imagine you
coordinator.
behind the scenes.
Oh,
like,
it was awful. I would wear like khakis and a cardigan every day because I was in the closet. It was, I mean, it's fun. Like, I got to learn a lot of the, because I wore so many hats, I feel like I know the Intercontinental really
You do
well.
know it. You're so well known for being like, I think in the industry, it's like you're so like the Intercontinental and Nicolette Ortiz. Like so many clients think Nicolette at the Intercon, and they love you at the Intercon. So it's
Well,
like
it was my
yeah.
first job after college. So it's, I kind of, even when I left and I went into the suburbs for a little bit and then I still came back, like I can't imagine going anywhere else in Boston. I mean, I love it. And
Yeah.
the grass always.
And people can tell.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm
She
happy
loves what
there.
she does.
I do.
Yeah.
I love what I do.
Definitely.
I love where I do it. I love the staff that I work with, and
And
like
it's so
our
professional and so
team.
organized and like very organized. I think the Intercontinental is just like it works like
It's
it's a
it
very
is.
well-oiled machine. It's just like boom, 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 and everyone knows what's going on.
And
It's
a lot
like-
of our servers have worked there since the hotel opened. So our service staff is like superb.
They're wonderful.
They
And
are.
let's give
they
a
really
nod
are.
to who came before
Who
Nicolette.
taught me everything I
Paul
know.
Leon,
I
iconic in our industry.
He was supposed to be here today and he said no. I speak to him on a regular basis. I call him like if I have any sort of emergency. He literally taught me everything I
I mean,
know.
Paul Molino he was such a legend in our industry, and he had done so
still
much.
is.
And he worked at Winston Flowers, and he worked at the Four
Four Seasons,
Seasons.
Savant
I did my
Summer.
wedding at the Four Seasons.
Oh wow! Yeah, he did his own. Yeah, yeah.
Yes. No, my wedding.
Yeah.
My
Oh, he did-
personal wedding.
Oh my god!
Yes.
Okay, look at you getting married at the Four Seasons.
Look at these hands, Jimmy.
That's awesome. So Jody, you worked with Paul a lot.
Yeah, for many years.
Wow.
Many years, yeah.
He's very missed. 'Cause
Nobody
he
wanted
Yes.
him to retire.
Nicolette
No.
had big shoes to fill, and she is doing an amazing job.
I know you are doing an
Correct.
amazing job.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. So how did you? Okay, so Lynn, I know you worked for Hopple Popple before, and then Danny, what were you doing before? Like,
Well,
what were I actually
my
have no
funny,
idea.
my
Yeah.
funny part of it is, I worked for a movie theater as a teenager,
I love movie theaters.
and I grew up in the south end of Boston, right across the street from Cathedral Projects, the old flower market, and I was looking through the South End paper, and I happened to come by a driving job for a florist that was literally up the street from my house, and I said, for more money,
You worked for a
I
florist?
worked for Tommy Custom Wholesale. Tom Rogers.
And that's
And
why
he was a
it's
floral
Tommy.
designer.
He was a designer, so he did the Four Seasons, the Meridian.
brilliant. Brilliant.
Amazing, talented
Oh,
man.
wow.
I learned so much from him because I was clueless when I came into the industry. Just kind of fell into it.
How old were you at that time?
And I started working for Tommy. I was 19.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you've been in this company forever. Wow.
I ended
Oh
up purchasing
my
the company
God.
like
Yeah, now you own it,
6
yeah.
years later. But yes.
6 years after you started?
Correct.
At 25?
I was, 20.
So you've been a
24.
business owner
Wow.
since you were
Yeah.
24?
Correct.
Good for you.
That's amazing. I mean, I just started,
Come on, Jimmy.
as you
We're
all
gonna
know.
work this hard. We might as well work for ourselves.
I mean,
All right, Jody?
I did. That's
And
amazing.
so I used to deliver the flowers for Lynn when she was at Hopple Popple.
Lynn, so how did you start with Tommy Wholesale?
I did Danny's wedding.
She did day up
At the
from my
Four
wedding
Seasons?
at the Four Seasons.
With
I did.
Oh, with
Paul. Right?
and then you were like, and then you offered her a job?
Yes.
Correct.
That's amazing. Okay, so where are you guys you're located in
Chelsea.
In Chelsea, right? At the
New
flower
England Flower
yeah,
Exchange.
yeah.
The new
Yes.
one is in Chelsea.
We miss Boston. but
I know,
Chelsea.
because you had to
Chelsea.
move, because the flower market moved to
sold the
Chelsea.
building.
Yeah, yeah.
They did. After many years.
I grew up in Chelsea. Have you ever been to Kat's Bakery?
No.
Oh, you have to go.
Okay.
Okay, what's
Let
that?
us know where it is.
We digress.
Oh my gosh. So so Jody, as an event planner, what are some of the things that you think about when choosing a venue for your clients or working? What are some questions that sort of come to you either from the client or that you ask yourself? Let's say you were about to have an event or you're thinking of using the Intercontinental for a party. What are the things you need to know to plan a wedding?
Well, first of all, I need to know all the basics, how many people they're going to have,
Okay.
what kind of budget they have,
Yeah.
and most of all, what kind of people they are. I get to know my clients, so I know what kind of vibe feels right for them. I'll never forget bringing a bride into the Intercon and seeing her face when she even walked through the lobby.
Oh, tell me
and
about
how
it. Tell us
lit up.
about it.
She
Yeah,
just
yeah.
loved the contemporary vibe and the city feel and the luxe feel of the hotel.
It smells really good,
Yeah,
too.
and it
Yeah.
smells delicious. Yeah, it smells unique.
Yeah.
As compared to other
You look
hotels.
fabulous, by the way. Your makeup is
Oh,
on point.
thanks.
Your hair is on point.
And so I love to go with my brides and other clients to see their reaction when they see the venue, and also a connection with the catering director helps.
It's so important
So
because you're
important.
working with them every
tandem.
single step of the way.
Exactly.
And I feel like catering directors at hotels, or catering sales managers, directors of catering, they're sort of wearing a lot of hats too, and they clients will ask them for design advice, or when they're working with planners, they really become part of that whole process. And these catering directors at these high-end venues, Nicolette Ortiz, Jim Peters, Sinema Tahan at the Fairmont now. But you know these, like Cherie Flores at the Hotel Commonwealth was on an episode. Like, it's like you just know these people. So you work in tandem with them. Yeah. I love that. So capacity for sure. The size that the room can hold and like all those things. And also like the requirements for decor. Like, can you hang things from the ceiling? Can you like, do like the load-in? Like the loaded situation.
Loading is big, but that's when it gets to Danny and Lynn. You know,
That's
how they
important for
can
me.
Get in the what the
Yes.
elevator's like, what the timing is like.
So what are your guys' favorite part of working in this industry? Like you've all been working in this industry for so long. Like what is still after all these years your favorite part, or what keeps you in it? What keeps you in the game in this business?
I think that all of us, anyone I've ever spoken to, we get a high from
It's an adrenaline
an
rush.
adrenaline rush from the level of activity and the timeline and the reaction from the clients and
You are so lucky.
camaraderie.
Hey, Jody, your clients, like just recently working with you and seeing how clients interact with you, like they just like trust you. Like they don't need
hope
to
so.
see a lot. They don't need to they just instinctively know that you're taking care of it and that you're designing a beautiful event for them. And I've rarely seen that. I've rarely seen like someone like that. So it's like you are very trusted amongst your
Thank
clients.
you.
And I think it's like you giving the great service that you talked about, building a really trusting relationship with them, and then you just build that trust with them.
To me, it's about relationship, whether it's with my dear vendors and partners. That's one of my very favorite parts of this job, but also relationships with clients.
But I think as well, with the hotel piece of it, you have the respect from the hotels. So as long as you have the respect from the hotels, once you're there, then getting the respect from the client is easy because they have faith in you. And when someone has faith in you, the client always will have
Knows
faith in
that.
you, which is
Yeah.
really,
Correct.
So
that's really a
even
bonus.
more important that we're all, our teams that we put together, who work together, that we're all on the same page versus people trying to one-up someone else. Where the people that I have had the pleasure of working with are nothing but talented, professional, respectful, and we have the same goal in mind. That's for the client to be happy. And
How do you get everybody on the same page?
it's years of
I think
Yes,
you just
it's
only
years
working
work.
of working
together.
Yeah,
together
you just only
and
work with people you
with
trust.
Yeah,
I
and
think we've worked so long, we know exactly what each other's thinking and
what we expect and
Correct.
how things. Right, exactly.
But also, I think it's a little bit of like if there were a mistake, I can trust that we'd fix it immediately.
Correct.
Like it's not, you build a relationship, a partnership based on how you react to certain things and how you don't. So it's kind of like, not if you burn your bridge right away, but if there's some sort of, like if I saw anything that was scuffed, I know, like I have Danny's cell phone number, I would call him immediately, he would
Yes,
come in and replace
correct.
it right away. But there aren't a lot of vendors that would do that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Being there for one another, and in my position, I know that whether if a client had a problem and we were working with Nicolette, she would make it right and it would be seamless. And the same with Danny and Lynn. If there weren't enough chairs, which I don't know, I've never miscounted my chairs. I don't know about you. But to show up and be there because we need to have each other's backs. This is how we've built our businesses.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we're gonna wrap up just to start our next segment of the show, which is to look at the beautiful table that Jody put together with Be Our Guest Party Rental, and then we're actually gonna like play around and decorate it and do what we've been talking about. So I can't wait to start that next segment of the show. Jody, take it away. I love what I'm looking at right now.
So this is a beautiful table with elements by Tommy Wholesale.
Oh, nice.
And Be Our Guest Rental Company. And the client loves blue. Something borrowed, something blue. This was a wedding, let's pretend.
Okay, at the Intercontinental
At
Boston.
the Intercontinental. And then we picked some beautiful placeware, a charger.
Nice.
And gold flatware.
I love how the colors coordinate.
They do.
Yeah.
And the colors and the design are all very important. We work with Lynn and Danny to get the perfect candlesticks
Beautiful.
on the tables. And sometimes
Oh my God,
we have,
those
you know,
are
we
so
do another
nice.
option.
I love, we're gonna move
When
these
we
a little
have
bit.
space
Wow.
on the table, we can do a bigger charger.
I love that
I mean, a bigger
candlestick.
candlestick
Bigger is sometimes better.
sometimes. And Danny is so impeccable when he's on site, making sure that all the candles are straight on all
Yeah.
the tables. You look around the room and nothing is off.
They're
We don't
straight but
know.
not narrow.
Eh,
Or straight but not narrow.
no.
I hope not.
You
This
guys
is prime time. But aside from the design, then we work with the catering director, like Nicolette in this case, to make sure that our design fits what it is they're trying to do, and that's serve the food.
Okay.
So something to consider with especially the round tables is how many people you can sit at each table. If you're going to have 2 wine glasses, a white and a red is normally our standard, but sometimes you can't fit it depending on how much you're putting on the table. And then something to consider too is if you're renting these beautiful chargers, we don't want to take them away immediately. So chef, if he was going to plate something on a rectangle dish, might replate it at the tasting to be on a round dish so that we can keep these down as long as possible on the table.
Perfectly said. And then also someone like the Intercontinental with the gorgeous linen napkins.
I know, I love-
They
yeah.
always, if someone gets up, they always fold the napkin when
So
a guest
professional,
comes
yeah.
back to their
Beautiful.
seat.
And we do a napkin exchange actually. So after your entree, we'll take the napkin and then we'll give you a fresh one for dessert. So that's something to consider when you're renting the napkins too, is something we point out. Do we want to clear the rental napkins or do we want to keep them through dessert?
Jody, one question. So I love this tablescape. It feels traditional, and I think it definitely would suit a traditional bride. But what if someone is looking for something a little bit more contemporary?
Oh, that's when we really get to work our magic.
Wow! Oh my God! New tablescape.
So this is what we do. We can just take an inspiration like color or the term more contemporary and change it up a little bit with a pretty napkin that's
Love it.
very
Love this.
colorful
Love it.
Love it.
and glassware, and then maybe some lower candles that make it look a little cleaner.
Love it.
And this great candle with a glass shade. But there's one thing missing here, Jimmy, and
What-
that's
oh.
flowers.
You know what? I know that.
JNG Consulting. And so I was at Tommy Wholesale, and I happened to find this pretty
I
vessel.
love it.
And I'd like to
I love it because I
add
used it in
to this.
gold. I've used that same one in gold.
So how can we make this more contemporary?
So you know what? I'm gonna pull some flowers that we had from the set from before, and I think that what I'll demonstrate to the viewer is just sort of like how a contemporary design can read really beautifully when you have just a single variety of a flower. So for instance, if I were gonna use all tulips in a vase like this, technically I would just create a grid with tape to kind of support it, or I could place a dish inside of it with foam. There's a variety of things I can do, but I think how you could start to style it is by placing the tulips inside and then just having them go all around the vase and then almost creating a dome or just like a really tight, beautiful, low design. Another thing I can do too if I want to be slightly more romantic is having it so that the tulips kind of fall and cascade over. I think that could be really dramatic and beautiful. And then Tommy Wholesale also has these really beautiful cut crystal votive holders that I can use, and I've used for an event before and I love them. But I can actually, instead of using it as a votive holder, I can use it as a vase. So I can fill it with water, and then I can actually start to place tulips inside of it as well. And imagine having an assemblage of these votive holders on the tables filled with different varieties of flowers. We can have one filled with tulips, one with maybe even small petite orchids, and then another one with roses or ranunculus. I think that could be a really fabulous, beautiful look.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So
Fresh.
that,
And Danny and Lynn, how do you feel about vessels of yours being used with water for florals? What happens when people go to take the flowers home and you need to pick up your rentals? What
We would
happens?
suggest you use a loamy dish inside, which is a little plastic dish
Okay.
that you can then put your foam in. That way guests can take home the whole
just
centerpiece.
lift it
Lift
up
it out of the
and then take
vessel.
it
You
out.
don't have to
Okay.
worry about
Yeah.
the rental of the bowl at all.
Because at the end of the day, these are rental. Your
Yes.
items are all rentals. When you're
is
selling to the
correct.
trade and renting to the trade, those are items that belong to you, and people can't take with them.
Correct.
Yes.
So what happens
Yes.
if someone does?
Our servers stop them at the door.
Or sometimes I'm in the back waiting.
All right. Gosh, Jody, thank you so much for putting together all Be Our Guest Party Rental, Tommy Wholesale items. Nicolette, thank you so much for your insight for what a dining table experience is like. I just want to take this moment again to thank you all for being on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I can't wait. I hope everybody goes home and researches Tommy Wholesale, Intercontinental Boston, and of course, Jordi Raphael Events. Thank you all for tuning in to the 5th episode of Jimmy's Decorative Moments. Thank you to Glenn and Janice Williams of the Rosendale Arts Alliance for supporting the show. Be Our Guest Party Rental, Simone, thank you very, very much. Jim Carr, thank you so much for being part of this episode as well. And I hope you take a lot from this episode and you take ideas to be creative at home to create decorative moments in your own life. Thank you again.